civility. Steven Spielberg's blockbuster animated movie The BFG and Taika Waititi's heartfelt New Zealand adventure comedy Hunt for the Wilder People. These two movies are about as different as they come in style, direction, acting, and budget, but their stories both orbit around unlikely bonds between lonely, eccentric children and outwardly gruff, inwardly tender older men. And therefore, I think they make for an oddly appropriate pair for the show, or maybe even an orphan adventure double feature. But before we dive into the differences, similarities, and relative merits of these two movies, I want to welcome to the studio my two regular Deep Focus fellow reviewers, WNHH station manager Lucy Gelman and New Haven Independent staff writer Alan Appel.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Welcome
Thanks
to the
for
show.
having us.
It's great to have you on. Okay, so one of the wonderful things about looking Welcome to Deep Focus, a radio show about movies and New Haven. I'm your host, Tom Breen, and I'm joined today by Mark Winik, the executive producer of the short documentary The Dog Healers that won Best Short at the 2019 New Haven Documentary Film Festival. And he is also the author of a related book, also called The Dog Healers. He's a New Haven native, currently living in Branford. And he seemed to enjoy the theme music, which I always appreciate of any guest whenever they bop along. So, Mark, welcome to the studio, and thank you for humoring me.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Actually, with that kind of music, the intro and that music, I just wanted to start dancing. So
it's always a good sign. Now,
yeah.
Before we jump into the movie and the book, you're wearing a hat with a dog on it. You identified the dog for me before the show started, and yet I've already forgotten what it is. I think you said Wheaton Terrier. Is that what the...
It's a Wheaton Terrier. My wife and I have two dogs, wonderful dogs. We have a Wheaton Terrier and a Woodle, which is part Wheaton Terrier and...
part Poodle.
You got it.
I got it. Oh, boy. Man.
Good guess, huh?
So I got an
You are
A+ in listening, dog identification.
You're a sharp guy.
So, Mark, tell me about the book and the movie. For people who may not have read the book, which I think you wrote and published in 2015, 2016, a couple years ago.
2016, but really we kind of released it in 2017.
So the book's been out for a few minutes, as it were, but then and the movie played at this year's 2019 NH Docs. For people who may have missed it so far, give us the kind of few sentences of what the book is about and what story the movie tells.
Okay, the Dog Healers, the book, it's a novel. It's an amazing adventure and a spiritual journey that captures the wonderful bond humans and dogs share together. And it's really about a fierce young healer who can breathe life into ailing dogs and turns racehorses into champions. So it's a book that can be read pretty much with any demographic. Kids love it. Young adults love it. Adults love it. Male, female. So it's really a book for everybody, and you don't have to be a dog lover.
And so this is a novel. I understand kind of you have your own personal kind of actual connections to Argentina with the setting of this book.
Yeah.
Before we get to those, tell me how's the movie different? What story does the movie tell? This kind of parallel but slightly different one.
Well,
and this is a documentary.
Yeah,
right?
the movie The Dog Healers, and thank you for bringing to your audience attention that we did win the NH Docs Best Short Film in 2019, and there was 110 films there, and there were really like some amazing films, and I'd highly recommend the audience to come and come to the festival next year because it's really special, especially if you're within the New Haven area.
So what is the story, the basic story that this short documentary tells? Again, this is set in Buenos Aires.
Yeah. So we filmed the documentary in Buenos Aires, where the novel takes place also in Buenos Aires. And the film, what I really wanted to do was really capture the theme of the novel, which is how dogs help humans and help heal humans each day or in times when we need them most, and how special they are, and such uh, a beautiful role that they play in our lives, and how they can lift our spirits in a way that modern medicine can't.
And so the movie follows one. I don't know if dog healer is the appropriate title for him, but Pampita, I think, is his nickname, both the man's name and also his dog's name, talking about his kind of special relationship with animals and how he visits kind of various people going through incredibly difficult times in their lives. So they're an aging blind woman, a group of women incarcerated, a young teenage boy with bone marrow cancer, who all find some kind of spiritual and, I don't know, maybe adjacent to it, physical sustenance from relationship with dogs. Did you know? I don't know who led you. How did you meet this guy Pampita, if I'm pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah.
And then how'd you find the various stories that you wanted to tell in the context of this movie?
Well, I think it might be good to clarify really how this whole development of us putting together this film in Buenos Aires, Argentina. There was a woman who was affiliated with Yale University that had read the story. She happened to be Argentinian, and she read the story and she said, "I just love this book. It's a wonderful story. I'd like to introduce you and try and set you up with the film people in Argentina." And I didn't really know anything about it. I said, "No, that's great." I said, let's go ahead, try and set up an appointment.
And who is this at Yale? What kind of work were they in? Or the professor? Or are they?
Well, her significant other's a professor of economics, so so she's tied in with the community, I would say, to that effect. So she set up a meeting. She was just amazing. She's actually one of the producers on the film, and her name's Fabiana, and she lives in New Haven, and she hooked us up with an organization down there called Inca, which is the equivalent to the American Motion Picture Society in America. And we met with the president's assistant, who she actually has been there for 25 years, so she runs the organization. She basically has all the relationships, and we made a presentation to her, and she just fell in love with both projects. We presented the idea of doing a documentary based on the theme of the novel, and we also talked to her and made a presentation about a feature film. So,
do you have any background in filmmaking, or was this the first time that you're pitching some major motion picture association on funding a documentary in Buenos Aires?
No, I have no background at all. And
so what was that like? Was that a surreal experience? And
well,
it sounds like you got pretty positive reception.
Yeah, no, it was just amazing, and actually, it was even more challenging because we had to do this through an interpreter, because my Spanish is not very good. I just speak un poquito, and we did it through an interpreter, and it's almost impossible to get a meeting with Inca. Actually, the president of Inca is appointed by the president of the country, so and they provide all the funding and for films that are really they believe in, they think it will have an impact on society or the viewing community. So
put yourself in that room a couple years ago.
Yeah.
When you're pitching Inca, was there a moment when your pitch, do you think, clicked with whoever it was you're talking to? What was the kind of kernel of your presentation about why The Dog Healers is worth making a movie of?
Well, I wouldn't even call it a pitch. It was more of just a conversation that we had, and what I realized is that very early on, I could just see in the eyes and the heart of the woman that we were speaking with down there that she embraced the project. She was a dog lover, and she was so excited about the novel that I wrote that captured uh, the Argentines as a great dog loving community, and she just thought that to tie both the novel and the idea of doing a documentary based on the theme of the novel was just, was just unique, and just she just loved it. So
That is how exciting. Well, I want to say you're listening to Deep Focus on WNHHLP, New Haven's home for community radio. I'm your host, Tom Breen, and I'm talking with Mark Winik, the author of The Dog Healers, and also the executive producer of a related short documentary, also called The Dog Healers. Before we go much further, I want to say one of the main reasons why we're having Mark on today is because on Thursday, September 19th, at the main branch of the public library in New Haven downtown, do I have that location correct?
yes, correct.
So
yeah.
at the public library downtown at 6 p.m. on Thursday the 19th, Mark will be reading excerpts from his novel. So if you're interested in this story or in this conversation, September 19th, Thursday, 6 p.m. at the main branch of the public library, you'll have an opportunity to hear some more from Mark. Was that right? Did everything I say sound correct?
Everything was
Past
great.
that,
Yeah,
perfect.
I look forward to anybody that cares to come to participate, and I think it's going to be more of a conversation. And I always really love for people to come that are interested, but also to engage in conversation, because I think it's important. So, and also they did ask me to bring both of my dogs. So for anybody that does have kids that love dogs, you'll be able to get a selfie of either you and your kids, or your kids and Paco or Chicky.
That is, and which Paco and which one is Paco and which one's Chicky? What's the
Paco's the Wheaton, and Chicky is the Woodle.
That's great.
Yeah.
So going back to you've had this conversation with someone from Inca. What year is it? Is this 2018, or when did you go down to Argentina? When did the movie start?
We go every
rolling?
year. I think we started it in 2000. We started the discussion in 2017. We took our time, like, selecting, because we were introduced to several really incredible small filmmakers, and we made a decision based on I often do things based on my gut instinct. So we ended up choosing two women, a producer and a director, and we spent a year working on this project, and it was just an amazing collaboration. I really enjoyed it, and I think they learned a lot, and it was just really wonderful to work with them, and also with Pampita, who's just an amazing.
So tell me about this guy. Tell our listeners a bit about Pampita, who's at the center of this short documentary.
Well, Pampita is really the host of our documentary, which we're actually working towards a documentary series. So, but he's our host, and his life was changed like 25 years ago because of a small pup that he rescued, and it was a life-changing experience. He was having troubles with his own personal life, and he never really had a dog before, and he bonded with his dog, and it just changed the direction of his life, and he left his work at the university and decided that he would become a professional dog walker and a specialist in dog behavior, and he's just, I don't know, he's just has just an incredible presence. So
how did you meet him?
I met him through the directors, and they just, I mean, we couldn't have found a better person for this role. So he's just a great spirit.
As you think back, so did you live in Argentina for a year? Were you kind of bouncing back between Connecticut and
No.
and South America?
We actually spent a lot of time Skyping back and forth, having conversations. They originally came up with 5 stories that they wanted to do, and the first 5 stories, I said no, it won't work, or there was something that just didn't feel right to me, and I said we've got to dig deeper, and we really need life-changing stories that will have not only an impact, that emotional impact, and that would really touch the hearts of people, but I think that would be of significant interest, that would be compelling for the viewing audience to want to actually hear these stories and see how things developed and see how people's life had changed because of an animal that helped them in their life. Yeah.
What was an example of one that didn't work for you that you thought wouldn't be appropriate for the film? And then tell me about the first one that really clicked and you thought, oh, this is exactly the kind of story that I want to be telling through this movie.
I can't really recall at this point which one that didn't work, because if it didn't work, it wasn't worth remembering as far as I was concerned. But
then tell me about one that wound up being included that you thought I don't know, you remember during the process of filmmaking, this is working for me.
What there was a story, and I just think was an amazing program about female inmates that were incarcerated in an institution in Argentina, and somebody there had developed a program that they would have a trainer who would train the inmates to train dogs for people with disabilities. And I just thought that is just, what a wonderful program. It's something that should probably be in every institution or correction facility in this country, because what it really does is it helps the people bond, the inmates bond with an animal. They learn something important. They also learn that they are helping people through this animal that they do train. From there we moved on after we interviewed the people at the correction center and the trainers, and then we found a young boy who really benefited from their training program, and he had bone marrow cancer at, I think maybe it was like probably 8 or 9 years old, and they got in touch with him. Somehow they found out, and they said, "Would you like a dog, a service dog or a therapy dog?" And family talked about it. They met with him, and it's just, the bond was like amazing, and this young boy went from a very depressed state in his life, and it was just a life-changing event almost immediately when he adopted this dog, or the dog adopted him. So it was just an amazing bond, and people, you have to see the film. So
why Argentina? Why did you choose this country and in Buenos Aires in particular to set the movie and a majority of your book?
Well, that's a great question. But I can answer this. My wife and her whole family are from Argentina. They live there. We go there every year. But really what captivated me was the dog walking community. It's almost like no other place in the world will you see hundreds and hundreds of dog walkers walking anywhere from 3 dogs to 20 dogs at a time, and each morning they walk through the neighborhoods and they end up in the parks every day, and it's really I don't know. For a dog lover, it's exciting. It just captured my attention, and I happened to meet at the time. I met uh, a dog walker known as the dog healer down there, and I thought it was really fascinating. I spent a couple days with him, and we talked about his personal life, his background, his family, and how dogs have impacted his life, and how they heal us in a way that medicine really can't. So we spent some time together, and I said, "This is a just an amazing story." And I just got very excited about it. I said, I started writing, and then I decided that it it should be a novel. So it couldn't just be about his story. I just wanted to turn it into a novel, and then I just kept writing and developed some great characters and developed some great tension, and some bad guys are in the book, and Officer Mondongo. Everybody hates this guy, but he
And horse racing
and
a lot
horse
of
racing
sitting at the edge of one's
and
seat.
right. So how to incorporate uh all these different elements was really challenging, but I just fell in love with writing, and really fell in love with creating and writing this story. So it was a lot of fun, and that's how it came about.
So I'm going to read two sentences from your book. I probably should have asked you to read it, but if you're listening and are interested in this conversation, you'll be able to hear Mark read from his book on Thursday, September 19th, 6 p.m. at the public library. So indulge me. It's from just page 6, very early on in your book, and I think it gets at what I see you so fascinated in about the way that people in Buenos Aires and Argentina more broadly relate to dogs. And so I'm going to read this, and then I want you to tell me a bit about what you saw as that kind of special relationship between dogs and people unique to Argentinian culture. Because obviously, people love dogs in the United States too. There's nothing strange there. But I'm going to read this, and then tell me a bit about what you saw in particular with this dog healer cause. But to quote from Mark's book, The Dog Healers, quote, "The locals treat their dogs and even street dogs with great respect and lots of affection, an urban society connected to nature and the spirit of their special companions. It is common to be at an outdoor cafe and have dogs seated beside you, enjoying a special treat while their owners read the newspaper and sip a cup of coffee. Argentinians' great love for dogs is an extension of their warmth and compassion." So what is it that you saw in this culture more broadly, and in this one individual, this dog healer in particular, in terms of how he related to dogs that was, I don't know, something unique, something different from what you see on a day-to-day basis between dogs and their owners?
Yeah. Well, certainly dogs and dog lovers, and it's it's it is universal. So we pretty much experience all throughout America, South America, Europe, and developing now in Asia. But I think what was really so special was just meeting the dog healer, and how he had developed. Well, he didn't develop, but he and his significant other, which you'll read about, Isabella, you'd read about in the book, had learned this technique on how to massage animals and massage dogs in a special way that really strengthens this incredible connection between dogs and people, and this mutual healing process takes place. And that is what really fascinated me, is just how this healing process takes place through touch and through soft tones and communicating with animals, and
So that part is not just fiction in the novel. That's what you saw when you met this person?
yes, yeah.
And obviously that isn't just unique to this one guy. I mean, the movie doesn't have the Carlos DeMarco, is that his name?
Carlos DeMarco, yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but is he in the short documentary? I don't believe he is.
No, no.
So obviously this love of and connection to dogs extends beyond this one individual. What is it that you see in Pampita, or some of the different settings that you focus on in your movie that you find a little bit unique to Argentine culture, in terms of how people relate to dogs? Or maybe it's not unique at all. Maybe it's just a universal thing. But I don't know. Tell me what you saw there.
Yeah. I actually, I think it's, I don't know how unique it is. I think it's universal, but yeah, I think it's great for people to learn, and that's why we're working on a series, documentary series. I think it's great for people to really learn how dogs can impact our lives and help our lives in different ways, and actually be life changing for so many people that you would never really think about it unless you were to experience it through our film. It's just, that's what I think is unique, that you don't really think about how dogs, because there are dogs that, and there are people that do fear dogs, and not everybody is dog friendly, but I think the culture is universally changing in this country and globally. So, and we hope to um, show people how dogs can really help people in different ways.
So the documentary series you're working on is focused on this same topic, on relationships between dogs and
Yeah.
people in Argentina in particular, or is it?
Well, we'll see where this takes us. I mean, we're planning to do it here, but we also have plans to capture stories. Could be from anywhere in the world.
And how has working on this book and then on the movie changed the way that you think about your relationship with your own dogs here in the United States, or the way that this has kind of hit home in Brantford or anywhere else?
Well, I think I was fortunate enough to, from an early age, to be introduced to dogs, and have had dogs all my life. My family, my father would bring home dogs from anywhere over the course of the years growing up. So,
As in stray dogs, or from?
No, I mean, he would. Sometimes they'd be stray dogs. Sometimes he would pick them up from a breeder. There was no rhyme or reason. He would just bring home animals and say, "Look, we got another one." So it was always fun, and so from a young age, I've always had this incredible connection with dogs, and I think it really came out in Argentina when I saw this dog walking community. All these dog walkers, and how they would spend time in the park, and well, there's a lot to life with such simplicity, with this relationship between dogs and people, and that's where it really sparked me to write the book.
For people who are interested in learning more about this movie or the documentary series, we'll get to the book in a second, but is there any place that people can currently watch it, or any upcoming screenings, a website, a Facebook? Tell me where listeners can go if they want to know more about the movie in particular.
Well, I believe that we do have, on social media, we have a Facebook page. I don't know how it's under the Dog Healers. So if you look up the Dog Healers, we do have a trailer there. We're not showing the whole film because of strategically what as we're rolling out our plans for the series. We're not planning to show this to the public, and we're not really allowed to. So, but however, we We are going to be in 2 more local film festivals in New Haven. The director of the Spanish Film Festival at Yale came and she saw the film at the NH Docs Film Festival, and she fell in love with it and immediately invited us to that festival, which is going to be at Yale. I think it's coming up in November.
Is this the Latino and Iberian Film Festival? Yeah. So Margarita.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's been on the show a few times and
Yeah.
wonderful person.
Yep. She's really wonderful. She loved the film, and also the director of the Southern Connecticut Spanish Film Festival also fell in love with the film, so they invited us into their film festival, or he also did. So people will be able to watch it locally in these 2 venues, either in November, and I'm not sure when the SESU film is coming up.
And then for the book, we've got, I know we've mentioned this a few times, but Thursday, September 19th, 6 p.m. at the downtown branch, the Elm Street branch of the public library. Mark will be reading from his novel, The Dog Healers. Show up and talk with Mark and check out what this is all about. And if they're interested in knowing more, I guess go to the Facebook page, or is there another place to get the book that is?
Oh, you can go to Amazon to buy the book. Yeah.
Great.
And you can buy it in both formats, either an ebook or hard copy.
Well, Mark,
and I'll be signing books for anybody that comes to the New Haven Public Library on September 19th.
And they can also get, I assume one of your dogs will put one of their paws on the book to give a signature, like dipping in an inkwell.
For a little extra donation, we might be able to arrange to get some paw prints on the book.
I didn't mean to commit you to that on air, but Mark, it was a pleasure to have you on, and thank you for sharing this book and this movie with us. And I'm glad to hear that there are a few opportunities for people to watch the movie at upcoming local film festivals. And best of luck with your work.
Thank you. You've been a wonderful host.
Thanks. Well, you can go to deepfocusradio.com to find many years, since 2015, so I guess 4 years now of conversations about movies and New Haven, and we will catch up with you next week for another show. 4 years now of conversations. Hey, that was a lot of fun.